Namaste. I'm Kamala Devi, and I'm taking a moment to pause between all of my wild whirlwind adventures this summer. I wanted to connect with my friends and lovers about what's been moving in my heart. There have been these immense, like, upgrades in not just spiritually and sexually, emotionally, but on what feels like a collective level. So, as you know, I've been traveling the world with the International School of Temple Arts, and we do these shamanic journeys. And as I touch in, to different lands, and I meet with the soul of the individuals, but the collective. I meet with the kind of the morphogenic field. I start to feel the themes and the conversations that are happening in different communities. And I'm very touched by what I'm hearing. And often we have this experience, like we're getting reorganized inside and resequenced in our own being as we do our personal growth. And then we look outside and we say, wow, it's like a perfect mirror, right? There's this reflection happening, but it's not just my own, law of attraction. It's actually listening to a larger awakening that, sometimes we look at it and we're like, there's something happening in the stars. I can feel it because everyone's feeling it. But what about this star, like planet Earth? Because as we wake up and we're emissaries of Earth, we get to feel that something's happening in the soul of the world, like in the core of the planet. And I'm, delighted to see that something is about love. There's a movement towards more freedom. And obviously, the outer world is in, like, it's this big shift, and there's, the Amazon burning, and the politics are, and global warming, and the, like, species extinction. Like, there's a lot of devastating things happening on the outside that if I took a breath to feel it a little deeper, there'd be tears. And what moves me is that the antidote to that, the uprising of what the world is needing, is actually coming through the people showing up and doing their work and being in communities around, like, how do we synergize more love? How do we be a call, to show up for one another, for the earth, for the future? And it's very, very different than 50 years ago when the Vietnam War was happening and there was the free love movement, sweeping, not just the US, but around the world. The free love movement was very much a reaction to, like, oh, let's make love, not war, like reaction to the political war at the time. And what I'm finding now is it's not reactionary. It's not like an activism or a swinging pendulum. It's more like coming from the core. And the best, I guess, handle or a way of describing it, because obviously it's like very diverse, and it's diverse not just within the individuals but different communities and within the collective of various countries. But the best kind of vision for it that I have come to understand is this Wild Love 2020 movement. And it's wild love is different than free love. It's like wild, it's like a remembering. It's like in our nature, there's a huge difference, between a manicured garden, and cultivated, like, land than wild land. That actually is just like a more the balance of the ecosystem. And the wild love that's coming through is not just about relationships and agreements and polyamory or monogamy or relationship anarchy, or which are all fine lifestyles and structures. And, like, that's wild love is not that. It's just, it could include that, but it's beyond that, because the beyond is actually loving as God loves. Loving as a mystical path. And it's been beautiful these last weeks to drop in with Bruce Lyon, who, by the way, if you haven't met Bruce, he's the steward and visionary for the temple in New Zealand, Haydn, which is, he's actually anchoring this temple in New Zealand right now through these temple trainings. And also he wrote the foreword, and he's one of the contributors of my book Sex Shamans, which I'm really excited that you can actually get pre-publication on Amazon. So you can get introduced to his work that way. But beyond, his work in New Zealand or his writings, like, he's a mystic and a visionary, and he's, in the time that I spent with him, I got a really deep, clear calling to start to, I guess it's like vibrating with this movement. So I feel myself more a part of the collective that's moving in the form of art and poetry and song, and because what love does, especially wild love, is it tends to inspire expression. And so there's this note that's been sounded, and there's people who are resonating with it. And I'm inviting you, friends and lovers, to tune into it. So I'm going to include the Wild Love 2020 website, and also other invitations, because I'm teaching spiritual, sexual, shamanic journeys and initiations around the world. And the value of that, which is really important to note, because love can be corrupted, love can be commodified, love can be distorted into need exchange and ego satisfaction. And like, a lot of people say, oh, self-love, and then what they're doing is they're like reinforcing their arrogance. And this is the big love. And by that I mean the self, the big self, the true self. And it's not identity, personality based. And a big part of what ISTA does is realign someone with their sovereign self. And what that means is the inner marriage. So we come into wholeness with the soul, and allowing the soul to guide and align, our partner selection and our attractions and connections, so that it's not coming from, these unhealthy, toxic, or dysfunctional or karmic relationships. So yeah, that big part of like the wild love path is actually coming from sovereign soul, and then allowing that to guide us into relationship with the whole ecosystem, with the environment, with, the other realms, and which is why I feel it's a mystical path. But I invite you to just, feel into the calling and see where it lands in you, and feel into the invitations and see if you're called to join us. Whether it's whether I'm facilitating or my colleagues are through ISTA or in Haydn, or just getting connected, with others who are in the wild love conversation. I look forward to hearing how this lands on you and what blossoms as a result.